Right, just testing, just back recording live, just some live streaming of just using Adobe Photoshop. And today I just thought I'd start showing you guys how I do my workflow with, especially when shooting, just when shooting raw files after certain gigs or even just in general. So right now, just on the screen here, I have, of course, the main menu software for Adobe Photoshop, and I'm going to slowly move into the raw file section, which I've just set up. And how that usually works is I'll just go onto File and then open it, and then I just select the raw files on my in my computer, and then it will take me into a camera raw file software, and I'm going to just going to transfer to that now. So just going to check the live streaming as well. So am I doing it? Hey Chris, do you read these? Who's Chris? Sam? Here we go. So checking out the live stream now. Apologize if the main photo center is not showing. I'm not too sure what's going on there. I've got everything set up on OBS, and for no reason I cannot find how. But you could still see the images selected on the just on the left-hand corner of the just on the images. So hopefully you'll be able to see that now. I'm hoping. Just going to continue checking. But yeah, I definitely read the comments, Sam. So I'm just hoping that you guys could still see the image and the mouse in the center here. But if not, the photo is right up here. That's just one of the sample ones I'm just going to be working on. And I've got a few down here that I decided to take some photographs yesterday evening. But if I'm happy with, say, this photo here, I can just go down here and it'll just show a certain amount of stars, and I can even select, do I prefer it like that? Is it like a 3 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 for me, in terms of how I favor? Just checking, and still 3 minutes in, so that's all good. Then just on the right hand side over here is just where all the editing stuff comes through. So in terms of profile, I can change the color profile. So it usually comes out as Adobe Color, but I can also change it into landscape if you guys can notice that. I'm just regularly checking on the live stream with this portrait, or even my personal favorite, which is adjusting it to monochrome. So you may even see it in the monochrome section. But I'm going to see if I can try and just going to rearrange the stuff here. So I'm going to enhance just the size of this. Yep. There we go. Since can't really see the image here, at least you'll be able to see the image just on the left side now. So just going to check on any comments. Not yet. So okay, now I'm going to do just a few adjustments, or maybe I might just bring it back down again. just playing around with OBS at the moment, trying to figure out how I could get the screen and the image in the middle to show up, but I'm not too sure. I'm still not too sure how to properly set that up, which is very annoying. But yeah, just also checking. Okay. And how I've been able to get the audio a little bit better is I'm using the Zoom H1N microphone, and I've just attached it through a USB onto my PC. So that's how I've improved the audio compared to previous ones where previous live streams was just directly from the computer. Right, now, so other options just down here, as well as I can change the white balance into just some of their standard setups, or even fully customize it from down here with these icons. And the great thing is especially when I'm using monochrome, I'm able to change the color tone. So it changes the lighting for, especially in monochrome, which is really nice. Is there any questions so far? Matt, still got Sam? Yeah. And going further down, it comes up, there we go. Yeah, so coming down to this section here, we've got exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, so whites and blacks. So that's just where I'm able to adjust some of those exposures and lighting. So I'm gonna just experiment around here just to see what looks better. Usually I prefer to just bring up the shadows. And also add in just up here as well, on the top left, it shows which camera I was using, which is the Olympus EPM 1. And then just on the right hand side, it's showing 1/25th of a second, or no, sorry, 25-second exposure and ISO 200. It's not, unfortunately, it's not showing the lens I was using, because the lens I was actually using is a full manual lens, and it doesn't have any connection to the camera itself. So it's only reading up the data that's actually in the camera, but not my focal length or focusing or aperture. I've also also used a neutral density filter for this photo, so that's why it's I've set it up to 25-second long exposure. Don't see any questions so far, and I'm not too sure how just checking through the Facebook stream as well, just checking how the views go. Can't really tell who's viewing at this stage. But anyway, so coming back into the software here, just curious, I'm just carefully examining it, so just seeing what looks nicer. So I've got it, so I'm just going to bring up the contrast a little bit. Very interested to just bring down those highlights and stuff. So even get it out of monochrome. Okay, now I got too much green in, so I'm gonna carefully adjust it. Hoping you guys could actually see. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see the top left, just the image on the top left, as I'm just adjusting the white balance a little bit. It looks like the rest of the skies is a bit just a bit overexposed. I'm going to see if I can tone it down. No, doesn't look like that's going to work. So it looks like my car is in a good lighting condition. It's always challenging with sunny days or even heading into the evening where you get the sunset in this photo. There's a little bit of a lens flare going on just on the near the right side of the image, just right around the bumper of my car, and just slightly above that where the fence is in the building. So that's actually just from the neutral density filter, just picking up some minor reflections. But I'll see if I could try and clean it. Now coming further down from here, I've got the texture, clarity, and dehaze effects. So if I increase it, for example, things will get a bit more dramatic. I could also make it a bit more hazy. But see if I could try and might actually haze it up a little bit and see how clarity would do. Might need to look into just cleaning the filter there. I can also adjust the vibrance as well as saturation, or I can go into toning the curves, which is what I'm actually looking into doing. Do I have any comments so far, Matt? No comments thus far, but now I've done 12 minutes on the live stream, which isn't too bad. I'm just gonna. So what I'm doing with the tone curving is it does show me a histogram of the tones I can adjust, but I usually prefer to just come down to the bottom where it shows highlights, lights, darks, and shadows. And what that does is, if you can see it on the top left of the screen, see if I can carefully adjust it. So just some portions of the image for highlights, such as just around you'll definitely notice it more on the concrete, a little bit on my car, and just a little bit up in the sky. But it'll change the highlights just around those type of areas, so where there's more highlight schemes. And then when I'm going to adjust the lighting to see how that's going to come out. So I'm bringing it up a little bit, and I'm just going to bring it down just to see what it looks like, of course. So the thing that's slightly bothering me is actually the flare there, just the flare just around the bumper and the fence. So I'm going to see if I could. It's going to add in a graduated filter, which is just up here. See if that's. Just going to check if I'm. Yep. So I just clicked up to where the graduated filter is, and I'm just going to bring that in. It's a bit too dark, so I'm going to come back to just with the temperature. I'm just going to set everything down to 0 and just basically make it fresh. So just start from scratch. So any questions so far? Anybody viewing the live chat at the moment? Checking on comments. So okay, I got somebody that's watching, Michelle. So it's good. So live stream is still good. Now going back to the graduated filter, I'm gonna see. Let's see. Nah. not going to tone it down then. Let's see how contrast goes. Very interesting how this goes, but I'm gonna hope you guys are able, might be seeing this, but I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing exactly, but I'm just stretching out the graduated filter. I've got it set so the density is on the right side, but it gets a lighter tone on the left. So that's generally what a graduated filter is. It's where part of the image is going to be toned down, and then the other part is just going to be normal. So just carefully examining how this is going to come out. Bring it down a little bit. Too dark. Yeah. It's usually a challenge with images like that, especially when you're in direct sunlight, but I'll go into start going into another photo. See how long I've been doing. So, all right. Just got a message from somebody. So good. All right, so I'm 16 minutes, well, nearly 17 minutes through the live chat. Yeah, I might actually do this photo here, which is just the stoplight just near my place. So first thing I want to do is it's just slightly off balance. I'm going to be aligning stuff. So I'm going to go onto my straightening tool. And then I want to make sure this is properly aligned. So I want to find a horizon. So I'm going to use the just where the house is on the left side, where the grass is, and where the fence, just the edge fence with the bushes are. I'm gonna try and align it there. If that works. And then I'm going to go onto the hand tool, so that way I straighten things up, and that should hopefully show on the left side on live stream. Now coming back to just the basics for toning, going to be exploring around, so might try and do landscape or something, and going to adjust the highlights. Bring up might bring up the contrast, or might, there we go, and then I'm gonna drop down the exposure a little bit, and then just bring out those shadows. And then it's interesting just bringing down the whites and just for the tones, because you could see on the top right side, that's a very strong light source there. So I'm not, probably from a cloud or something, but I'm going to see if I can drop it down on the highlights. No, it's not. So I'm going to have to either bring that up a little bit, or even can also go back into using a graduated filter, and then bring that down, then tone it down. Nah, gets a little bit annoying. Or could I? I'll just remove that. And then I'm gonna could try and use the adjustment brush. See how the adjustment brush does. So yeah, so I'll use the adjustment brush there. Just want to bring that up. So what the adjustment brush is, it applies to the same stuff as the graduated filter, but instead I can just draw out certain areas. So if I don't want something to be overexposed or underexposed, especially with that very highlighted area, just going to bring it back a little bit and just carefully adjust stuff. So I'm 20 minutes through. I'm going to very interesting when I'm working with this. Just trying to figure it out. See if I can fully rub it in. What does that do? Not. I see what it's doing. You can see on the right side, on my left side there, it's too dark. That's not what I want. Maybe if I bring it up a little bit. Just keeping my eye out on it, just on the left side, because I can't fully see it on the screen in front of me. I'll just go back to the graduated filter. Oh geez. Oh geez, there we go. Yeah, there we go. So that so now I've just fully blown up the sky there, just because I want to try and reduce that unnecessary light. That light's just too much for me, so. And I'm just going to bring up the temperature just on the filter, so get the stop sign nice and red as possible. It's probably as red as it's going to get. I'm just going to carefully go through the shadows again and continue on. No, I'm not going to use the haze. That haze is just too much. I think that would do for now. That might do, unless can't help myself, so I'm gonna look at it in monochrome. Can give it like a maybe 4 out of 5 stars. Just it's not the best image I've taken, but it's something. Just bring up the clarity, come back to tone curves. Ooh. Another thing I'll be pointing out, because I've just turned down the lights for just in the tone curve section. If you can see my mouse, I'm hoping you can, but just near just on the top left of where the stop sign is, you can notice a little bit of dust. I'm hoping that dust is actually hopefully it's on the filter, not on the camera's sensor. Because that would be a real pain to clean that up again, especially since I'm practically out of cleaning swabs, and I just have to wait a few months to get some new ones. And I'm just adjusting the shadows, see what looks good. That might do. I'm just going to bring it back into a color I might prefer. So go back into the landscape. Second thought, I'll just go back to monochrome. Some other features I can do. since I'm on this image as well, that's really cool. It's split toning. So as you would have seen with some of my photos for concerts and gigs, what I usually do here is just with the split toning is I prefer to try and set it up so I go around 50, around 52, or I'm trying to remember where it was exactly, but and I can just bring up the saturation. See if I can find it in my notebook, because I did note it down sometimes that I regularly use on just for some of those photos. It's kind of like my signature, just made it as like my signature processing. Can't believe that it's already the 1st of May, so we're almost halfway through the year, which is crazy. Yeah, here we go. Yes, with the hue, I just set that onto 57, and then saturation for it is at 55. And then balance, I would go to plus 64, so plus 64. So that way you get a nice yellow tint. As for the shadows, I prefer to increase the hue for the shadows to 188, so that way it's in the blue. And then saturation is at 32. So now you get that interesting effect. So this is how I usually, just with some music gigs or performances, or even just for some images like this, I like to try and just adjust the color tones like that, especially when using monochrome. Do I have any questions on just in the comments? Still no comments, except for Sam's one, which was apparently 9 minutes ago. And we're slowly moving into 30 minutes in the live stream, which isn't so bad. Yeah. I'm just going to go through some of these other photos I took. So, might go with this one here. First thing you kind of notice just where the trees are, just on the just with the Red Verandah Cafe. Again, you can kind of notice a lot of the a bit of a flare going on there, just from the filter. So usually that's when a lens hood comes in. And just to put in just a bit of a segue here, if you do feel like grabbing a coffee over the week, I do recommend checking up the under the Red Verandah Cafe. It's just down in 10 Christchurch Street. They make some really good food and coffee, and as you could just see in the photo, just on the bottom left, they've actually just set up some meter, just some safe distance, just safe distancing for their lines, and as well as that, they've just sent through their contact details, but you can check them up online. I'll see if I can try and see if I can find their Facebook or website for you guys to check up. So I might go into there, bring it into the Facebook or something. So under the Red Verandah. There we go. So just got just got Facebook set up here, so I'm gonna just do that, and yeah, so just gonna bring it into the view here. So yeah, so you can check up the Red Verandah Cafe on Facebook. Again, they make some really good coffees out there, so I do recommend it. Yeah. Now carrying, just going back into the editing. So first thing that I can see is just the shadow on the bottom right, and I'm going to see if I can try and scrub the graduated filter, and I'm going to go from start at the bottom right, and I'm going to slowly move it out. And just going to push it back a notch. No. Yep. And might even, just to get rid of the rest of it, I might even crop in and just patch, especially where the leaf is. So I'm going to go just behind where the leaf is and bring it in. And I reckon not that much. So slightly cropping in. Keep in mind, as I'm using a 12 megapixel camera, I'm actually going to crop into 9. So now the image is going to come out as a 9.5 megapixel because I've cropped in significantly. Now to do what I'm going back into the basic adjustments, I'm going to go through the check out landscape, or even check out might even check out vivid. Nah, standard. Nah, too bland. I'll just keep it at landscape, and then I'm going to adjust the white balance. I'm going to try and see if I can fix up that. Just fix up the leaves up there, like just the tree up there, because that's just going to annoy me, really. I'm going to be very annoyed with that. I'm not a huge fan of flares. Nah, it's very annoying when that happens. Nah. Okay, it's gonna be a little bit bothersome, that little flare there. Just gonna check out go back to the live streaming. So yeah, so now 35 minutes in. Now that I'm back onto basics, I'm gonna just carefully might just tone it down. So the shutter speed on this one is 13-second long exposure with at ISO 200. The aperture I set it up, if I remember, was around f8 or f22. That's why there's no depth of field, so there's no background blur in this image. So you can see the car at if I were to zoom in at the car just on the left there, I could just read out the license plate. Yeah, it's a bit annoying that just really annoying that the live stream, or just the live stream, isn't showing the image in the center. Really annoying. But yeah, you live and learn. I'm just gonna just drop down the highlights and whites, try and see if we could try and get more of the sky in there. Let's bring it back to the, just leave the contrast to 0. And just check up bring out those shadows a little bit. Yeah, it's not too bad. Is there any questions so far? Just check if there's any questions, or doesn't look like I got any questions thus far. Very interesting, just experimenting with the OBS Studio though, just learning about how the actual system works. It's very interesting to get my head around it. So I'm just playing around with the just texture and clarities and all that type of stuff anyway. So at this stage, I'm just mumbling. Mumbling around really. So just playing around, see what works or see what looks interesting. Might even go into tone curves, and I'm just gonna try and that blown up highlight's gonna annoy me though. Just referring to the highlighted tone on the just above the roof, that's definitely going to be annoying. Let's see if I could try and check on another filter. Oh, that's too much. So I'm going to bring that down. Bring it down. Just going to bring down that exposure. Oh, jeez. Ugh. 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 No. Nah. Ugh. 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 No. Oop. Nah. 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 No. Sometimes sunlight's. Oh, I think I got something. Ugh. 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 Whoa, no. Uh, uh, trying to figure out this. I've got a bit of green there. It's like, what are you doing? What's going on here? Jeez. Might just get rid of you then. Yeah. Stuff like that always. Okay, just up. I'm just gonna go onto that there. Checking, so almost 40 minutes, so I might start looking at finishing up soon. Just give this one a check up as well. So yeah, sometimes I don't do all of them, but I'll just regularly when I'm doing images, and usually if I'm at a concert or a wedding or something, I'm taking over, well over 2,000 like 2,000 raw images. So imagine just going through all the raw images like this. It's just, oh man, can take a long time. But that's how I usually do my work here. Just editing through the raw files from Adobe and just seeing what works. There are a few hacks as well that I can do, but at the same time, like some photos are just need to be done more appropriate, not appropriately, but it just needs to be more. Each image is different from another, so what is it doing? There we are. That's what it's doing. Okay, just trying to figure out why it was acting the way it was. So okay, I'll just hopefully that's a bit straight. Might crop in. So bring that in. Bring that down. Yeah, so now this is a just 7 megapixel image there. Come back to the basics again. I might go with, that's a bit nicer like that. Make it look a bit more like it's summer or spring, just a nice warmer tone. And hopefully if I bring down the highlights and stuff, you might be able to see more of the clouds. So it's not entirely bad. Maybe the shadows. Ooh, I think this is I think this one might be my favorite photo for the day. So, ooh, yeah, nice and simple, really. It's a very simple photo, and I'm very pleased with this one overall. The other ones are just terrible. Not gonna lie, just this one actually feel like this one might actually be a good one to sell online. Yeah, so I might just gonna go onto the stars there, and I'm just gonna put that onto get that a higher rating because that's actually more than happy with that as it is. Even if I'm just gonna zoom in and just look at everything. So it's a bit noisy, but it's a little bit noisy around some parts of the image. But of course, it is a 7 megapixel image. Yeah, so and then if I'm happy with an image, I just go onto the save image and then just gonna check on the live stream, see if it shows. No, it doesn't show it. Okay. Unless if I go to, just gonna see if I can bring it in. So, no, not you. Oh wait, yep. So, just gonna play around with the stuff here. There we are. So that shows it's good. So come back here. So now it's showing me this is where. So destination, and I can select which folder, but I've always kept it onto my published images. So these are the images I've edited in raw format, and then I can change the name. So I'm not too sure what to name it. So I'm just going to make something basic, like maybe I'll just call it Tancred Street, and then save it as a JPEG. I'm just going to look at the formats in JPEG, copyright maximum. I'm just going to bring up that maximum to 12, so it's going to be at the highest. And just go through all these, and yeah, that looks good. So that's good, and then I'm going to save that. Just check through the time as well, so almost 45 minutes. Almost 45 minutes, so been live streaming for an hour, which is I prefer it, and now I should be back in. Yeah, so now I'm back in to here. Sounds good. Now, that's the main stuff for. Yeah, it's just the main stuff I just wanted to just put up in my live stream for today. So I'll be and then with my images, I usually post them up on just on my social media. As well as that, I also regularly post up some of my landscapes and other photos like that up onto just some stock websites. And if anyone is interested in actually purchasing some of my images online, I've got a EyeEm account right here, and this is where I usually upload a lot of my landscapes and street photos usually, and very free to sign up, and you can upload as many photos as you like. And as you can see as well, I've got uh, just around, well, just over 900 photos on the market at the moment, and 185 photos are partnered with various customers, and so far I've actually sold one photo there. I also have an account on Pickfair as well, so you can also check out my photos on Pickfair as well, just under Pros Forever Photo. For EyeEm, just you can look me up at Pros Forever at EyeEm.com. So that's EYEEEM.com. Yeah, so just thought that's yeah, so that's mainly it for today, and just almost it's almost 15 minutes in, so might actually end the stream there. Thank you guys for checking out another live stream from me. Hope you guys stay safe out there, and we all manage to get through COVID-19 very, very soon. Have a good night, and I will see you guys in the next video.